Hi you guys, welcome to Trinika Creates. Today I'm going to show you a Tuesday morning dupe that I just made, and it's going to be a picture frame that I recreated using all Dollar Tree items. These items are in the stores now, so you can go and look for them. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss a video. Now let's get into the craft.
To start, I'm marking some holes on the pressed board that I'm going to use as my base for the frames. And depending on which frames you decide to use, your measurements are going to differ. So I'm just using, we're measuring 3 holes that I will later drill into this press board. And because it's press board, you can use your power drill really easily to drill into this base, so that was really convenient for me. So I'm just marking those now. And I started off using a smaller drill bit. I thought I was going to use some wood dowels that I purchased from Walmart, but even though they were the same measurement, they didn't fit in the hole. So what I ended up doing is using the wood dowels that I bought from the Dollar Tree, and I had the drill bit that matched that one, but those did fit. So just be mindful that you may need to go with a different size wood dowel or a different size drill bit than you were expecting. So I'm testing now to make sure that they fit. So these are 2 Dollar Tree frames that I picked up, and I think they're really cute as is, but they didn't match the dupe that I was trying to do. So what I'm going to do first is drill holes into the bottom of these. So at first I started drilling all the way through, and then I realized I don't need to necessarily drill all the way through these frames. So I'm just going to go far enough so that the wood dowel will stay in place. It was easy for me to drill into this frame. Despite it looking metal, it's not actually metal. So now I'm going to start painting the home sign, and I wanted this to be as close to the original frame that I saw, so I didn't change up the colors. I really like the colors, these kind of sea colors of the word home. So if you have this decor in your house, you wouldn't necessarily need to paint this, but because I was trying to do a dupe, I did change the color to this neutral color, and the shade is the Apple Barrel Territorial Beige, and I got that paint from Walmart. So it's cheaper to buy your acrylic paint at Walmart than it is the Dollar Tree. Um, so yeah, I picked that color because it was closest to the original that was in Tuesday morning. So now I'm painting the base, and I'm using my acrylic paint again. This is the Apple Barrel brand, and this is pewter gray. So I put a coat of that over the base, and if I had chalk paint, I would have used chalk paint. I did have to go over all of these items multiple times. So I'm painting the wood dowels as well because the dupe had the dowels painted the same color as the frames. So I wanted to make sure I was staying true to that. I thought I recorded when I originally started painting these frames, and I was so nervous about whether or not the paint would adhere because the finish was so metallic looking, and I forgot to press record. So that's why you see I'm already painting. But if you see close to the bottom of the screen, the gold is bleeding through. So I did have to apply at least 2, maybe 3 coats of paint to this frame so that none of the original color would bleed through. And it actually turned out really good. The paint adhered to that metallic finish really easily, so that wasn't bad. The only thing was I had to brush up and down, left and right, in order to get all of the paint into the woven details of the frame. So that was the only thing about painting these frames. So the last frame that I have is this round frame, and I looked in so many Dollar Trees for just a simple round frame, picture frame. They had mirrors, but they did not have simple round picture frames or even oval picture frames. So I ended up with this one, and if I could do it all over again, I either would not have purchased this frame, or I would have at least spray painted it. I didn't think ahead as far as spray painting. I had already picked out the paint that I was going to use, and the paint that acrylic paint would not stick. Maybe chalk would have been better. Chalk paint. I'm not even sure that that would have made a difference. So what I did is I took this matte Mod Podge and I went over the frame with a layer of that to try to give like a coating that the paint would stick to, because every time I tried to go over this frame with paint, the paint would pick up and peel away. So I'm going over the square frames now with a layer of that matte Mod Podge, and you can find that at Dollar Tree. I purchased both my gloss and my matte Mod Podge from Dollar Tree. Is way cheaper than paying for it at Michael's or Walmart. It's just too expensive at those stores. So I'm going over my frames with the Mod Podge so that the acrylic paint doesn't chip over time. And using matte will give it a nice finished look without it looking too shiny. And that's because that's not the look I'm going for. I'm not going for a real shiny look. When you're applying Mod Podge, especially to something that you've painted, you want to give it a thick coat, and you don't want to go over it too many times, because what will happen is that the Mod Podge will weten your paint, and your paint will start to lift up, and that's what you don't want. You don't want to smear your paint. So once the Mod Podge dries, it does dry clear. You want to apply a thick white coat over your painting because it's going to dry clear. You won't be able to tell. So I'm doing the same thing to all the other parts, the base and the home sign as well. And this is again so that that acrylic paint doesn't chip. I want this piece to last me for a long time, so I'm doing this extra step to preserve this piece that I'm creating. And when I craft, I tend to craft for things that I can use, that I want in my house, not just because it's fashionable. Or I tend not to craft for things just because they're cute. They have to be practical, something that I want in my house, because otherwise I'll end up with a lot of junk that is unnecessary, and that's just not my motive for crafting. My motive for crafting is usually to create something that I'm going to enjoy and keep for a while and use for that matter. So this will be a useful picture frame for me. I'm also applying Mod Podge to the wood dowels, and I doubt that the paint would actually peel from the wood dowels, but I wanted to make sure that they had the same finished look as all the other pieces, that same color. So that's why I applied Mod Podge to the dowels, and it made it easier for me to insert the dowels into the frame, into the base, so that I can paint evenly on all sides without the wood dowels sticking to the foam board or sticking to each other. Now that all the pieces have dried, I went ahead and cut down my wood dowels. At first I cut them like half of the two on the ends. I cut them down halfway. But when I looked back at the original, they were more staggered so that the middle frame stood out higher. So I went back in with some piercing pliers, and I cut about another couple of inches, or like an inch or two. I cut them down some more so that I could get that staggered effect of the original picture frame from Tuesday morning. So doing this, I just kind of snipped the wood about 3/4 of the way, and then it was easy for me to snap them off. And I just any pieces that were kind of ratty at the top, I just clipped those off so that I could prevent getting splinters or anything like that while I was handling this. So once I got that cleaned up and measured to the height that I wanted the frames to be, it was easy for me to insert the dowels into the frames. So I drilled holes into the 2 square frames so that I can insert the wood dowels into those frames. But the base of the round frame would not allow for drilling. So I'm using my hot glue gun to glue this to the back of the frame. So I just started out filling out the gaps at the back of the frame with hot glue to give it a strong foundation to adhere to. And then I just continue to go around and fill that in so that the frame would stand on that dowel very sturdy. Once the hot glue dried on the round frame and it was sturdy enough to stand up, I applied the E6000 glue, and I usually get this from Michaels, and you can use your coupon on E6000. So what I did is applied that to the base of the word home, and then I centered that and placed it onto that base in front of the picture frames. So E6000 takes about 24 hours to cure, and you want to make sure you give your project enough time for this to dry completely and solidify. It does tend to expand and discolor, so you want to clean it up before you start moving it around, or don't let it dry if it starts to drip, because you don't want it to stain your project. But usually I try to weigh down my projects that I use E6000 on, but that was not possible with this particular project, so I just let it sit overnight. So guys, here's my finished product. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think. This was an interesting project to do because it has so many different components, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using this for a long time to come, changing out the pictures. But let me know what you think of this project, and if I got close to the dupe, the original that I intended to create. Let me know what you think. The original was $19.99 and my version was $6, not counting the glue and paint, things that I already have at home. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with someone who you think might enjoy it. Thank you.
So you guys, if you see these at the Dollar Tree, they're where the picture frames and the other like home decor signs, what signs would be. Make sure you pick these up. They have the home, family, and one that says love. I picked up 2 of the home and 2 of the family signs because I plan on doing other DIYs that I can change out throughout the year. So if you see these and you see how big they are, like these are huge, pick them up. You can always change the color if you don't like the color. It looks like 2 of the letters are made together, so you wouldn't be able to break up each of the letters, but this is still a pretty good sign to have to do DIYs with.